Ah, the holiday season. We picture all the good stuff: cozy nights, presents, getting together with family. But what if I told you this is also one of the absolute peak times of the year for relationships to just end? It sounds completely backwards, but it's a real, measurable pattern. Today, we're going to get into the research synthesized by Dr. Ronnie Rodas, who has looked at years of data to figure out exactly why this happens.
All right, so let's just dive right into this huge contradiction. It's this massive gap between what we all think the holidays should be and what they actually turn out to be for a ton of couples.
You see it everywhere, right? Our whole culture sells us this perfect picture on the left: pure love, joy, and connection. But the research Dr. Rod has compiled points to a very different reality for many, one that's full of stress, debt, and conflict. It's like the intense pressure to live up to that perfect Hallmark movie image can ironically create the perfect storm for a relationship to completely fall apart.
So, is this all just, a myth, something we see in movies, or is there some cold, hard data that actually proves the holiday breakup is a real thing we can measure? Well, let's take a look at the numbers.
And the answer, as Dr. Rodas' synthesis of the research shows, is a huge, resounding yes. This pattern isn't just real, it's actually kind of predictable. Let's start with social media, which is an area Dr. Rodas knows a lot about: how our digital lives actually reflect what's happening in society. So after analyzing years of anonymized relationship status updates on Facebook, researchers found one day that pops up again and again. You might want to circle this on your calendar: December 11th. Yep, just 2 weeks before Christmas, this day has become known as the single biggest day for breakups all year long. Wild, right?
And hey, it's not just dating couples. A massive 14-year study of court records found this really interesting pattern. While divorce filings actually dip in December, they shoot up by about 33% right after the holidays. This kicks off what lawyers literally call divorce season.
And this right here really shows you what's going on in people's heads. In just the first week of January, Google searches for the phrase "I want a divorce" have been shown to skyrocket by over 200%. People aren't just thinking about it, they're actively on their computers researching how to end their marriages right as the new year begins.
So when you piece it all together, a really clear timeline emerges. First, you get that pre-Christmas breakup day. Then, that first Monday back at work in January is so busy for lawyers, it's been nicknamed Divorce Day. And that kicks off a 3-month divorce season where filings hit their peak for the whole year. I mean, the pattern is just undeniable. Okay, so we've established the what and the when, but now let's get to the big question: why? Dr. Rodis's work really frames the holidays as this intense stress test, a time that doesn't necessarily create new problems, but it sure does expose and amplify the ones that are already bubbling under the surface.
And the research absolutely confirms this. A major survey found that nearly 9 out of 10 adults feel stressed out during the holidays. And if you look at the chart, the biggest drivers are probably no surprise. Financial pressure and family drama are the two main culprits causing all that stress. Let's just zero in on that money stress for a second, because it is incredibly focused on this one time of year. A staggering 76% of people say the holidays are, hands down, the most financially stressful period of the entire year. Money is already one of the top things couples fight about, and this season just cranks that pressure up to 11. This financial pressure is so real that relationship experts even came up with a name for it. It's called Scrooging, and it's exactly what it sounds like. When someone decides to end a relationship right before the holidays, specifically to get out of buying a big, expensive gift for a partner they're already on the fence about. Okay, so let's shift gears a little and talk about the psychology of it all. How do all these external pressures actually trigger that internal decision? Why does this specific time of year become the final tipping point?
So try to think of your relationship like an old-school balancing scale. Social exchange theory says that we're all, kind of subconsciously, weighing the good stuff, the rewards, against the bad stuff, the costs. Well, the holidays suddenly come along and just dump a ton of new costs onto one side of that scale. You've got debt from gifts, the stress of seeing in-laws, the chaos of travel. For a relationship that's already a little shaky, all that added weight can be enough to make the whole thing just tip right over. At the very same time, you've got something called turning point theory. The end of the year is this huge natural milestone that forces us to stop and reflect. It's almost like a built-in performance review for our own lives. We start asking ourselves, do I really want another year to be just like this one?
The calendar itself creates this really powerful deadline, pushing people to make a choice, either recommit for another year or decide to start fresh. And these two psychological drivers are what lead to those two different patterns we saw in the data. You have the people who break up before Christmas to dodge all the costs and avoid having to perform and pretend to be a happy couple. Then you have the others, often thinking about kids or family stability, who decide to just tough it out, get through the holidays, and then pull the plug in January for that symbolic clean break.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this research? What can we actually do with this information to help couples get through this season without becoming another statistic?
Well, based on Dr. Rodaz's work, being aware is really your best defense. First, just accept that the stress is normal. Feeling it doesn't mean your relationship is doomed, it just means you're human. Second, you have to be proactive. Don't wait for the arguments to happen. Talk about budgets, about visiting family, and about what you both actually want out of the holidays before you're in the middle of all the chaos. And finally, don't fall for any magical thinking. The holidays won't fix problems that were already there. In fact, the stress is much, much more likely to make them bigger. And that really leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about. Are the holidays this destructive force that just tears good couples apart? Or are they just a giant magnifying glass, one that reveals the cracks that were already there all along, forcing us to finally face a truth we might have been avoiding for the rest of the year?